What's up, Brigade? How are you? Welcome into a Wednesday episode of the Bostonian versus the Book. I'm Matt Peralta. We are live on YouTube and X Twitter, replayed on Sports Grid Television, audio podcasts, wherever you guys get your audio podcasts. Where in the world, where our guy will be? How do you say that fast? Adam Bjorn is joining us from somewhere in America, thanks to BetCris. It's a BetCris Arizona Wednesday here for us here on BVB. We got a lot to get to in the NBA, in the NFL, in college football. It's all coming at you here today on the program. Adam will join us in about 15 minutes as we will talk about Thursday night. We'll talk about Saturday for college and NFL. Any games you guys want us to address, feel free to drop it in the chat and let us know, hey, I want to go this game, I want to go that game, whatever you guys want to jump in. So looking forward to getting Adam on the program. He's not in America. That's all I'm going to tell you. I don't know where he is, but he's not. We were doing the time zone math as to like what time he's supposed to be over here. He might be back in Malta. He might be back at Island of Man. I'm not really sure where he might be. International Space Station. At some point in time, that's possible. At some point in time, that's where Adam Bjorn might wind up be for us. So looking forward to talking to Adam Bjorn later on in about 15 minutes here on the program. I want to talk about what happened last night. Because I think this is a big problem. I'm not somebody who wants to sound the alarm on certain things, but what happened at the end of the Oklahoma City game against the Rockets has got to be talked about in the wake of what happened at the end of the Auburn-Georgia game. And why is this happening consistently right now? Is it a big problem or is it just a coincidence? Because the integrity of the game conversation is front and center. Let's get into it during the opening line. All right, opening line for us. We have covered this. I mean, the beginning of this program, the origin story of the Bostonian versus the Book, and we've told it many times. You know, in the wake of the repeal of the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act, PASPA, the repeal of that opened the floodgates to so many people like me, Dave, and others to have careers in the broadcasting space talking about sports gambling because it became part of the culture. We no longer were whispering about gambling. We were talking about gambling. We were acknowledging it. Broadcasters are acknowledging it. During the game, we're talking about everything going on. It's completely up in our face, right? Advertising, bet, parlay, same game parlay, right? All over the place. Why are we having these conversations about refereeing so consistently? Why are we all having these conversations about the issues around refs? Because we were told forever by the leagues. They told us over and over and over again about the integrity of the game. Rob Manfred, MLB commissioner. Our most important priority is protecting the integrity of our games. As early as 2014, Adam Silver of the NBA talked about sports betting needing to be regulated because it would safeguard the integrity of the game. Roger Goodell had to backtrack all sorts of issues because he had said that if you legalize sports gambling, you're going to ruin the sport of football and we're not going to be able to have games on the up and up. Had to backtrack. Then now he says that it's the most important thing to him. The integrity of the game is the most important thing to Roger Goodell as commissioner of the NFL. It is so important that the integrity is there. If you go back to 2016, a Seton Hall study came out where 1,000 people were asked the question about sports being rigged. Were sports being rigged? And the result was that 52% of those asked said yes. They believed that an NFL football game could be rigged. It could be influenced by outside forces. 52% in 2016. This study has been quoted in courtrooms, on the stump. I mean, this has been a very popular thing that people have gone and said, wait a minute, look at this Seton Hall study. They said it's possible for the games to be rigged. And I have pushed back heavily on this, saying there's just no way. There's no way that this could happen, that the amount of money we're talking about is insane, that a professional athlete is making millions. Why would they risk it all? Excuse me. Why would they risk their freedom to work with a gambling syndicate? Why would a college kid risk his eligibility and the potential to make any money? Why would they do that? And then on the other side, they come at me with the Tim Donaghy stuff and saying Tim Donaghy laid it out as to how the leagues influence the outcome, that the leagues, they know they want this a certain way. We went and did the whole thing on the Chiefs and what happened with the referees with the Chiefs, right? We had that whole show, that whole opening line. Go back and watch it. But, Chief fans don't want to hear that. But that's a study that was done by UTEP about the influences that the referees had throwing flags in favor of the Chiefs, not just over 1 year, but over an 8-year period. It's getting harder and harder to sit here and tell you that there is nothing going on. The cracks that are being shown in the games, it's becoming a problem. I don't know what is going on. And I'm not saying anyone's dirty. I have no evidence of anything except what my eyes are telling me and what my eyes are showing me, because this is just a quick snapshot of what is going on right now. And this is 23 and 24. The UFC had a coach who was selling picks because he knew the outcome. Remember that story? That was pretty quick. We've had issues with Colorado and what happened with PointsBet and whether that was appropriate or not, because there was some mutual beneficial relationship between the two. We had 5 NFL players suspended in 23, including Jameson Williams, the receiver, Jameson Williams of the Lions. Alabama fired their baseball coach because he was caught informing a gambler about a pitching change. The Shohei Ohtani story still doesn't sit right with anybody. It still feels crooked as to what happened with Shohei. Jonte Porter is going to jail for what he did. We've got federal prosecutors who are involved on a variety of different levels, investigating different syndicates, investigating different people who have been involved with the NBA and the NFL when it comes to prop betting. We've got 2 pitchers for the Cleveland Guardians who were pulled off the mound. Their closer, who was an all-star, and their best starting pitcher were pulled off the mound for their involvement in what is still being investigated as a point-shaving scandal. It's getting harder and harder for me to sit here and say these things are not happening, because they're happening right in front of our eyes now. When it happens off the field and when it happens through an investigation, that is one situation where the public can say, well, I didn't see it. So now we're going back and watching film and we're thinking, okay, that looks bad. It doesn't look right, but I didn't see it. So since I didn't see it, I can go on with my day. I'm not the one who actually saw the act. We are now seeing the acts with our own eyes. I went off on it with Kirby Smart and what happened with the end of the game situation in which Kirby Smart, the coach of Georgia, was clearly seen calling a timeout in front of multiple referees. And then Kirby Smart turned around and said, I wasn't calling timeout. Wait, I wasn't calling timeout. No. I wasn't doing that. No. Not what happened. I was saying they were clapping, not timeout. The referees went, okay, Kirby, we agree. And they allowed the play to be redone in the Auburn-Georgia game. Now, regardless of what happened at the goal line in the first half, in which they ruled it a fumble, which was clearly a touchdown for Auburn, it was 17-0, and that game was all but over. Auburn was going to beat Georgia. Well, Kirby Smart got granted that opportunity, and Kirby Smart then went and told everybody that he didn't call a timeout, even though everyone saw him with their own eyes call timeout. Clear as day, he was calling timeout. Kirby Smart says, don't believe your own eyes. Don't believe what you saw. I didn't do that. I mean, heck, The broadcasters, Sean McDonough, they were on microphone saying, Kirby Smart's calling timeout. How do you miss that as a referee? How do you miss that? That's impossible. There's no way. Either Smart called the timeout, like the official clearly saw, or he didn't. There's no do-over to the play. They let Georgia do the play over. Thus, as according to the USA Today article written by Matt Hayes, Georgia coach Kirby Smart has his own set of rules. Does he? Or was there another incentive to have Georgia win that football game? I don't know, but to ask the referees as to how did you not see that? And the referee said, we didn't see it. We didn't see the timeout being called. We didn't hear him calling timeout. So we didn't know what to do. We were confused by it. He then said he was clapping. So we just said, do the down over. Like it's, in your backyard and it's just a do over. You can make up the rules as you're going. How? It enabled Georgia to run more plays, run the clock out. They scored a touchdown ultimately, which they shouldn't have done, but they did. They could have run the clock out and won the game and not given the ball back to Auburn. Instead, Auburn couldn't tackle a pretty simple quarterback run, which allowed a touchdown for Georgia. But still, that play didn't sit well with me and other people because we're watching it and we're going, how is this possible? How can you not see that? It calls the integrity of the game all into question because we had a bad call in the first half, and now we have a bad call in the second half with the game on the line. So then we fast forward to last night, and Oklahoma City is having their banner ceremony up against the Rockets. It's a huge game. OKC is a big favorite, but OKC is in everyone's money line parlay last night. I mean, like everyone's betting OKC money line. Like they're not going to lose the game outright. Come on, that's impossible, right? The sports books need the Rockets to go in there and win, right? The pro money came in on the Rockets. It went from 7.5 to 6.5, right? Dropped down. But at the end of the first overtime, when the Rockets did not have any timeouts, it's a tie game. The rebound comes down to Kevin Durant. And Kevin Durant grabs the rebound and he calls timeout. He blatantly calls timeout. They don't have any timeouts. That's a technical foul. Thus, OKC should be awarded a technical foul shot. And if they hit that shot, the game's over. OKC wins the game. 116 to 115. The game's over. Instead, the referees claimed that they did not see Kevin Durant call timeout. After the game, clear as day, replay shows Kevin Durant calling timeout. SGA is asked about it. He said he not only called timeout, he verbally called timeout. Kevin Durant grabbed the basketball and verbally called timeout, as well as calling timeout with the ball in his hands. The answer after the game from the referees was, we didn't see Kevin Durant call timeout. Someone's going to have to explain this to me. Okay? I know it's a little hard to see on the screen, but that is a crowd shot of Kevin Durant calling timeout with the ball in his hands and a referee staring directly at Kevin Durant. That's a ref looking at Kevin Durant calling timeout. Per the pool report after the game, the crew chief said it's simple. None of the 3 game officials saw Kevin signal that timeout. That's why it wasn't granted before the expiration of time. They're confirming that Kevin Durant called timeout. He's saying, saw Kevin signal that timeout. They aren't doing the Kirby Smart thing. They aren't saying that it didn't happen. They're saying it happened. And now they're saying that the referee did not see the call being made. Look at the arrow. Unless that referee is wearing a blindfold, there is no way that that referee did not see Kevin Durant or hear Kevin Durant call timeout. How do you say that publicly, that Kevin Durant didn't call timeout or you wasn't awarded the timeout because your officials didn't see it? Because clearly there was an official in line, in place to make that call. I don't know what to make of it. I just don't know what to make of it. These things are happening in front of our eyes, and people are telling us that it's not happening. This is a problem, okay? This is a huge problem. It's a problem with refereeing. It's a problem with integrity. It's a problem with what's being said after the game. These things can't happen. Okay. They just can't happen. We have all the problems. We have the Shohei story. We have all these issues with players and prop betting and everything else. We have enough problems as is. The refereeing has to be seen as credible. And so far this year, we are off to a horrific start in the NBA for this. Absolute horrific start. I don't know how you look at that and say, how did you not see him call timeout? How did you not hear him call timeout? You were 10 feet from him. You were in position. You can even call that angle like, oh, the referee wasn't in the right. He was in the right position. He was staring right at Kevin Durant. And yet he did not award him the timeout, which would have given a technical foul. Luckily, OKC won the game. Okay. So luckily there was no harm, no foul in terms of money line. But we go to a double overtime situation where we had no reason to have a double overtime situation. Zero. Why? I have no idea. Let's talk some football. Where in the world is our guy, Adam Bjorn? Cannot wait. I almost wore that same shirt. How are you, my friend? Where are you today?
I'm doing great. I am. Let me just show you. So I am somewhere in the major Antilles. I believe Cuba's that way. I believe Turks and Caicos is to the west. No, the east somewhere. So yes, that's where I am right now, in the middle of the Caribbean Sea, Atlantic Ocean, or somewhere in between.
Are you on a cruise ship?
I am on a cruise ship.
What? you're mobile now. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's some great internet on a cruise ship. How about that?
Yeah, it's been pretty much flawless since we got on. Unfortunately, for the first hour, when I left the port of Miami, it was just gone 26-16 in the Denver game, torn up the tickets, and then didn't find out until, I don't know, Monday morning, about noon or 11 a.m., that they actually won the game. And I got 2 more of my survivors through, which I put in the bin and cast it away.
That is tremendous. Nobody had it on the under. Nobody had you on a boat. Everybody had you in different parts of Europe. So everyone loses. So the plus 5,000 on the boat cashes. Nobody had you on a cruise ship to be joining us. You're mobile for the first time. That is absolutely tremendous. Well, thank you for taking the time, obviously. Very cool. So tomorrow night is a game which I don't know really what the handle will look like, because people are really befuddled by both the Vikings and the Chargers. What are you guys seeing early for Thursday night football? Because this Vikings team is a disaster right now with Carson Wentz, and it looks like JJ McCarthy is not going to play for Minnesota.
Yeah, so right now we're seeing 57% of the money's on Minnesota. 62% of that is at plus 3.5 or better. On the flip side, 80% of the Chargers money is at like -3, -25, and -2.5, -22, and 66% of the master money is on -2.5. It's all over the place, but it's around 3, and it seems like it's pretty steady around 3. When it gets to 3.5, you see some Minnesota. The 2.5 got bought up pretty quickly and got it to the 3. So looks like it'll stay 3.5. Every time it goes back to 3, there's a sniff on the Chargers there.
Do you think you'll see a lot of money line action in this game? I feel like folks aren't going to want to really be a part of the sides here, or even the total. Just take money line and just say, okay, I think the Vikings win or the Chargers win. We've seen such crazy dog action. The dogs have done so well on Thursday night in prime time in general. I wonder about how much Vikings money line you guys are going to see.
There's not a lot right now, volume overall. Taking out the parlay action, which is generally on the favorite, it's slightly to the Charger side on the money line there.
Okay. Before we get to the Saturday, Sunday games, I'm curious about NBA action for you guys. I mean, were you busy last night? I mean, do your players enjoy the NBA? Because I'm always amazed at just the prop betting and the number of plays and volume we see when the NBA comes back.
Yeah, the NBA action's been good. Numbers are inefficient early on, so you're going to get plenty of people coming on it, and then sort of the lines are moving very quickly, very early. So then you've got some people that have got those slow outs that get on the arbitrage opportunities or the middles or any of those things. But NBA volume has been good to date. straight out the gate, just coming in hard. And, there's been some good sweats each night.
Cavalier money in Ohio. Do you guys see a lot of action on the Cavs?
No, not as much. Usually, it's oddly enough, it's to get the sharp money against them, not really much rec money on them.
Okay.
So that's mainly what we see there. We haven't really seen football a little bit on the college stuff. We get some local biases and things like that. But in Ohio, we've got a lot of professionals, so they're really playing numbers, not teams. New Jersey are playing arbs and stuff like that. Arizona, I've seen a little bit, a little bit on them, but they're not great teams either. So you get a bit of both ways.
Yeah, the Suns might be okay. You guys might see some action with the Suns this year.
Right.
They have a decent season, but yeah, generally speaking, not great. Giants, Eagles. This is one of the bigger games for the weekend, just from a marquee standpoint. What are you guys seeing from an action standpoint? Anybody wanting to back the Giants here?
No. It's went from 5.5 to 6, 6.5 to 7, all pretty quickly. 86% of the money's on Philly, 84% of the master money's on Philly at the 5.5 and the 6. As it opened up, it got bet pretty quickly to find the number at sort of 7, 7.5. I think coming off the back of that last game, and I still haven't seen the end of the game. A lot of people just probably think they're just demoralized and go in this one. And Philly, divisional team, should be able to get back up for it, but they might be just toast.
One of the craziest games I've ever witnessed. I'm 48 years old, so I've watching the NFL since I was 8, 9 years old. I mean, 33 points in the fourth quarter. Everything had to go right for the Broncos. I had a teaser with the Broncos that pushed, that somehow I wrote it off like 15 times. I was like, there's no way, that's a loss. That's a loss. And it just kept on staying alive. And I don't know how the Giants recover, to be quite honest. I mean, right. I don't love the Eagles. But it's 7.5 or 7 and most. I mean, I don't know how the Giants go back on the road after what just happened and get up. And Jackson Dart's like, let's go win one for Coach Dabble because we just blew. There were over 1,000 teams that had led by 19 points with 6 to play in the fourth quarter, and every single one of them had won, except for the Giants, which somehow lost the game thanks to 2 missed extra points, and then 30 seconds left and a chance to go down and kick a game-winning field goal, and it happened. So how it happened, I have no idea, but I'm glad your survivor pick advanced. I'm glad my teaser pushed. I think everybody will be on the Eagles here. It's probably a smart move on the Eagles. What about the Ravens off a bye? Lamar didn't practice yesterday. I'm seeing people say take the Bears. I don't know how you take the Bears on the road, but maybe catching 6.5 points, it's enough. Anybody back in Chicago against the Ravens?
So overall, we've got 55% of the money on the Ravens. 62% of the master volume is on the Bears. It's a low betting game to this point. Baltimore sharp actions at the 5.5 and the 6. But once you get to 7, 7.5, it just comes back heavy master money on Chicago there. So I guess they're finding the number around 7 and then waiting on the news whether he's going to play or not. And it's, who knows what that number will end up once they get that answer.
Yeah, I have a big red line right through that game. I want nothing to do with Chicago and Baltimore. That game is an absolute no play. By the way, the chat is pointing out you have a 4-color retro pen that you are. Do the different colors represent different things for you? I've seen this before with you. This is a Adam Bjorn special. You like these pens?
Yes, I always have at least one. Sometimes there's 2 or 3. In my notes, I've written the games in black. I've got notes in red, some stuff in green. It goes back to the horse racing days, when I was marking the form and getting ready for Breeders' Cup next week. It was, generally it was perfect to have that. And then when you're, the old schedule, the schedule book days where you're, writing all your different notes in that, it made it so much easier with the 4 colors in that. And, I grew up with it at school, so it was easy to go back to. And once I found them, there was one I think I bought about 57 of them at a Staples or an Office Works one day. I hadn't seen them in probably a decade or something, and I just scooped them up, and that's it. I've just been collecting ever since. And then occasionally I ran into people and like, oh my God. And I'm like, here you go. So there's some scattered around there out in the world as well.
Oh, they're tremendous. And I write down my plays too. I mean, I use, when I go to the book, I have a hand written out note for my plays. And I just walk up to the, teller, or walk up to the window, and I read off my win. So I'm with you on that. I prefer that. The kids these days don't, though. They want their whole spreadsheets, and they want their whole pretty fun things. They use their notes app on their phones to write things down. But I like the color coordination. It keeps it good. I like it. See, what is a pen? From Jason Casey. What is a pen? Yes, the kids don't understand what pens are. Absolutely. All right, so Dallas is on the road against Denver. Denver had the miracle. Dallas can't play defense against anybody, but they scored 44 points last week against Washington. Is this Cowboy money? Are we seeing dog action here, even with the road team? Or is it Denver keeping the home train going here?
So early on Sunday, Monday, it was really good back and forth, all at 3, master money, rec money, all at 3. Since then, there's been a little bit of a lean towards Denver, 61% of the money on Denver right now, 58% of the master money's on Denver. 100% of that master money's at the -3. There is a little bit back on the other way, buying up the Dallas, but this was one game that got really good volume in the first 24, 36 hours, and it was both ways.
Interesting on that. Do you think you'll close at 3? Will it stay there?
It looks like it's pretty solid at 3. It may get, 3 -25, which then gets you to sort of 3.5, dog 20, something like that. But I think it'll stay pretty strong there. Hard to trust Denver after that, whether it was Giants just blowing up. And as you said, Dallas are putting up the points, but, week and a half ago, they got beat by the Panthers, and they're all over the place as well. So that's, that division on a whole, but, Giants, Phillies, bad run, Dallas, the Commanders last week, it's all over the place.
Yeah, I've got a 7-1 ticket on the Cowboys to win the division, so I'm pulling for Dallas to figure this out.
I'm with you there. When I was in Vegas at G2E, that's who I loaded up on for the division, the championship, the Super Bowl. Because just looking at their schedule and everything that laid out, it didn't seem like there was, they could plausibly win that division. Definitely wild card opportunity. And if they can just get it together, then, their schedule wasn't that bad.
Eric's asking about the Max Crosby situation. I can answer that. So James Slater of the NFL Network reported last night that the Raiders met with Max Crosby here in Vegas last night and told him that he will not be traded from Vegas to anywhere. They're not shopping him. So the Cowboys are interested in adding a pass rusher. They want to add somebody before the trade deadline, but Max Crosby will not be going to the Cowboys. There was some rumor about that, but the Raiders not interested in trading Max. So that's being reported by James Slater of the NFL Network. So no way that's happening as of now. Green Bay and Pittsburgh. I'm guessing this is going to be a big handle game. This is the marquee game in terms of the media attention, with Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers facing his former team in the Green Bay Packers. They're road favorites. Mike Tomlin's a home dog. Anybody laying the points here? Because it feels like the narrative is all about Pittsburgh.
Yeah, this isn't a highly bet game right now, and it's well balanced, minimum volume. I guess, people are just curious who'll show up for this. As you say, Pittsburgh at home as a dog. Rodgers maybe let one slip and just having an eye on this game, whatnot. But well balanced, minimum volume at this point.
All right, Addison wants to know about F1. He's our F1 guy. You're all over the place. You're basically in F1 country in some ways. Do you guys have any liability for F1 for drivers championships? Do you think it's Max Verstappen? Is it anything of note for you guys from an F1 standpoint? And the answer can be no.
For our yes, no. So all the action's generally been on the two favorites between, the McLaren boys, Pistori from Australia. It's, there hasn't been any late Verstappen money coming in with him sort of showing up those last few races. But I'll make sure I make note of it going into next week or what next race coming up and punch some in as well.
Do you bet F1 ever? Are you ever involved?
Heavily in my early days of my career. It was one of the softer sports, and you can get on decent volume. It's really hard to get down these days. And then when they sort of, back in my days, there was fuel stops and there was all these different things to really have passing happen. But they've made it such a sort of non-event, boring sport for probably a decade or so. that I sort of drew away from it, and the betting just really wasn't there to, put the time and effort into it. But it has been showing up a little bit more in recent times, especially with the North American races. You get some rec money sort of flowing in that sort of distorts the market a little bit. But yeah, generally it's been a bit like NASCAR, heavy into NASCAR, late 90s, early thousands. Then it really had a lull in the business. And then when PASPA repealed and whatnot, it kind of tried to make a bit of a comeback. You can get some decent limits on it, and there's so many matchups these days. But yeah, those are the niche sports that if you can get down and you can get a bet on, you chip away at those things if you have some of those soft spots.
All right, it's not a great college slate this weekend, but there are a couple of decent games. Ole Miss is on the road against Oklahoma. The Lane Kiffin to Florida rumor has got everybody thinking that Oklahoma is going to play a distracted Ole Miss team coming up this weekend. I don't know if I believe in that. Ole Miss has been pretty good this year. The numbers say that Ole Miss will keep the game close. Oklahoma's defense could see an underplay, but where are you guys on Ole Miss and Oklahoma this weekend?
Yeah, it's well balanced and low volume. So there wasn't a lot on that game when I sort of took a look at it. But again, it's Wednesday. We've got some days before that stuff. Even the Masters, it's really hard to get on decent limits too early in the week. So they don't. If anyone has a strong opinion, they don't want to disrupt it too early. They'll find a spot when the limits are a little bit higher and they can sort of hit a bunch of places at once to get what they're looking for. And also now, if they really think there's an off number, some of them will wait for the live betting where you can sort of, repeat hit at the number as soon as there's sort of a kickoff and get down for better limits as well.
Is that the same story for Missouri and Vanderbilt? Because that game 10 years ago, this game wouldn't even be talked about. All of a sudden, game day is showing up for this game. It's one of the marquee games of the weekend with Missouri and Vandy. Anybody betting it?
So this one does have decent money on it. 60% on Vandy. Master chart, though, is well balanced, decent money. Overall, the master chart was about 65% of the actual overall game money. So it's got strong two-way action there from, decent bettors that know what they're doing.
Wow, that's so interesting on that game. 2.5, 3 for Vanderbilt at home against Missouri. And finally, A&M is on the road as a favorite against LSU. I'm surprised it's below 3. I thought it would be higher than this given what LSU has looked like, but Brian Kelly might be coaching for his job. So maybe there's the angle there. Any action on A&M LSU?
No, this one low volume as well. Fairly well balanced. A little bit at the -2.5, and then a few bought to the 3.5 on LSU. But yeah, there's not been a lot of volume on this game. On the college slate, BYU, Iowa State, really decent. Like, that's the biggest bet game of the week so far. 64% of the money's on Iowa State, but generally it's -2.5 one side, +3 the other. And then the other one that had really big volume and well balanced with both rec players and masters was the Texas Mississippi State. Was getting really good volume as well.
Two-way, or are they leaning one side?
No, that one's it's the biggest. It's getting a lot of action, and it's well balanced, both recreational money and master money, both ways.
Interesting. All right, for you, I know you guys are looking at survivor plays and circa million plays. Anything jump off the screen from the NFL perspective for you personally? Anything you're looking at?
No, not really. I'm just still sort of basking that I've got 4, not 2. I will not be playing the Thursday night game, so I don't have to worry about that too much. Cincinnati just burnt me so bad last year, but I was kind of looking at them. Baltimore is probably a spot to pick, but they get healthy and they're one of those key games. I think Thanksgiving or somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Maybe this is where you use the Falcons. Cleveland did the job against the Dolphins last week. Maybe the Falcons is a spot there. So I've got 4. Last week I went 1 KC, 2 Denver, 1 Browns.
Okay.
So got those across. I'll probably do somewhat of a spread this week, not put all the eggs in one basket. And I don't think I have the Colts available in at least 2 of them. So I'll sort of see where I have on that as well. That's why I didn't sort of dive into them. But generally, when I log into my Vegas Horse Pools account, I get to see, what's already been used. I don't have to do any research. And then I can sort of go through there. And it's entries 7, 8, 9, 10 that are surviving. So they've got all kind of discombobulation of what I'd picked early in, because I went pretty hard first 5 or 6 on the one team each week.
Yeah.
And then 7, 8, 9, 10, I was just sort of spreading it wide. And that's the ones I've got left right now. So I'll continue on that methodology for now.
I like it. You used the Chiefs last week. Will you use the Chiefs for any of the entries this week?
No. So I used them once last week, and then I think in 1 or 2 weeks' time they have another spot, and then I'll be just leaving them for Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Where, I'm not playing around with that. The Browns did the job. They did what I asked them. So that entry is definitely Christmas Day, KC. Won't be touching that one. And we'll sort of see how the rest of it plays out between now and then.
All right. So when do you think you'll go live on Saturday? Because people have watched this live stream. I've paid attention to it every week. When do you think you'll be able to go live? I mean, where are you going to be on Saturday? It's Wednesday. Where are you going to be?
So Saturday is another full day at sea. So I will be on the boat Saturday night. We get in early Sunday morning. I'm not sure when or if Nebraska's playing, or what time. So that'll do it. But for me, I'm available 4 Pacific, 7 Eastern. It'll be up for Scott to see if Nebraska has a later game. Then that might push us around a little. If they play early, then we'll be on time as normal.
Well, enjoy the cruise. This was amazing. I mean, you might as well have been in space, given on a boat in the middle of the ocean. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to catching up with you next week. All right.
All right. Cheers, Matt. Thanks.
That is Adam Bjorn, BetCris Arizona, joining us from a cruise. Not even a joke, a cruise here on the Bostonian versus the book. That is so neat to have him come on. I mean, where can't we have live streams now? Like a cruise ship? Somebody said he was freezing less than me, which I guess that's potentially possible given that. Very, very cool with Adam Bjorn. That was awesome to have him. Yeah, less freezes than me. Him on a cruise ship for jumping in from BetCris Arizona. Good stuff there. That was a lot of fun. Let's continue talking about what happened last night as the NBA came back. All right, what happened last night, aside from what happened at the end of the game with the Kevin Durant situation, which I still think is ridiculous, the game itself was unbelievable. I mean, SGA played incredibly well. Oklahoma City started to look like themselves in the second half and then into the overtime periods. I felt like there was definitely, and that was a bad handicap by me. I thought the youth of OKC would help them not fall into a trap, but it actually drove them into a trap in the first half. I thought they looked sluggish. I thought they looked a little bit distracted. The ring, if you haven't seen it, it's kind of a cool idea. It has a ring inside of the ring. It has a championship ring that you could wear to events because nobody wants to wear that gigantic, gaudy, huge championship ring. So if you want to have something on there for like a black tie event, there's a very gorgeous, awesome ring, which I do think that's going to get copied by pretty much everybody going forward. Whoever came up with that idea, whatever jeweler said that, awesome idea. But they were a little bit lost. I mean, they were a little bit not in their own heads until they woke up, and then they started to play really well. And SGA became SGA again. And you know, if you like him, Moss Sports World, if you like SGA, you should go and watch the starting 5 on Netflix. It's awesome. I mean, it really is very cool. Yes, there was a player named Matt Perot. Well, there was a Perot and there was a Matteo Perot. He wasn't Matt. It was Matteo Perot. Yes, there was. He played for the Toronto Maple Leafs for a bunch of years. Go and watch that. Like 100% go and watch that Netflix show because you see a very cool side of SGA. On the episode I watched last night, it was on Christmas Eve or around Christmas where they threw him a surprise party for Christmas to tell him that he was on the cover of Y2K 26. And he thought that was like the coolest thing in the world because he had grown up playing the game with his brother. And the fact that he was now on the cover of that video game was super cool for him. And it's a nice look into him as a man and as to what makes him tick. So that, I mean, it's cool. Jaylen Brown is on that show. So is James Harden. We learned a lot about James Harden, the father, which I don't think many people think about when it comes to James Harden. And he had some very specific things to say about raising his son and how he wants his son to be. and saying, I don't care if he plays basketball or not. I don't care what he does. I just want to support him in any way I can, which I thought that was pretty damn cool to see. So huge win for the Thunder. Way to kind of, announce that, even when we play poorly, we can still beat the teams that are expected to be right there. Kevin Durant and the Thunder are going to be awesome. I don't think they're going to have much of a problem with the point guard situation. Everybody was worried about Fred VanVleet, but Ime Udoka has, I trust Ime Udoka to have a game plan every night to have his team be competitive. They're young and they are one of the tallest teams in the NBA. They're going to be physical. They're going to be a problem. The Rockets and the Thunder, they're going to play every time they play. It's going to be must-see TV. Huge win last night. The Warriors looked great in the second half against the Lakers. Jimmy Butler, again, we talked about it all yesterday about the fact that this team, when they had Green, Curry, and Butler on the court together, played at a 63-win pace. They just weren't together all that much last year due to injury, and then obviously the trade that happened mid-season. But Jimmy Butler goes for 31 and 16 for 16 at the foul line. That's the best mark by any Warrior since Rick Barry in 1975. Now, if this is the version of the Warriors that we see with Steph Curry dropping threes from parking lots and Draymond Green being physically not dominant, but a problem on the glass, and you have Jimmy Butler, who looks like Miami caliber Jimmy Butler, Jonathan Kuminga and company, this Warrior team, I talked about it yesterday, 30-1 to win the NBA championship. They've got the pedigree. They've got the coach. They have the bench. Like this is a team that is going to be a problem in the Western Conference. And I think people in Golden State, in that organization, I think they want to remind everybody that, we're all talking about Denver and we're all talking about the OKC Thunder, but maybe, just maybe, you're forgetting about the greatest shooter of all time, who now doesn't have to carry the entire franchise the way he had to in the previous seasons. In the wake of Kevin Durant leaving, this team has been looking for a superstar to help, and they have found that in Jimmy Butler, and he is a perfect fit for what they are trying to do. So Warriors looked really good. Warriors looked really, really good last night. If you were watching hockey, I hope you watched the pregame for Brad Marchand, because my gosh, as a Bostonian, okay, none of us were holding it together. I mean, all of us were in some form or fashion crying, or being emotional, not able to just, watch that and not have the same reaction that Brad had. I mean, it was tough to watch that. Like he was drafted by the Bruins. He won a championship with the Bruins. He has tremendous respect for Boston, and it makes everybody who likes the Bruins, say, why in the world is he not a Bruin? Well, he won a cup. He chose to stay in Florida. It was the right decision. He's with a franchise that's going to be competitive, that's going to play for another cup. The Bruins are nowhere near that. The Bruins are hoping to be a 500 hockey team. The Bruins have now lost 4 games in a row. They opened up the year, or is it 5 games in a row? But they opened up the year 3-0, which stunned me. And now they've lost 5 straight. And Jeremy Swayman was great last night. I mean, he's been tremendous. I mean, Swayman's been great. The team their power play has not been as good as it needs to be. They haven't seen the defense that you would hope. They've hung their goalie out to dry a little bit. Boston can't play over games, and they've been playing over games recently against Vegas and now here against the Florida Panthers. They got to get that defense fixed. They really need to figure out what's going on here. But yeah, that was an amazing tribute. And I was getting DMs from people saying like ESPN was going to screw up. They thought ESPN was going to mess it up by not airing it like in its entirety. And I thought ESPN did a great job. They just shut up. Nobody talked. They just showed what was happening, and they let the audience, and it came through the TV screen, the emotions of watching that tribute video and then watching Brad and then watching the fans and watching the Bruins players. I mean, when Brad started to do this, the stick tap, it was rough. Like that was, it was hard. It was hard to keep it together if you're a Bruins fan, knowing what that guy has meant to the city of Boston and clearly what Marchand has from an emotional standpoint to Boston. I mean, he is going to be back in New England when his playing days are over. He's going to be a part of it. I mean, Zdeno Chara, Brad Marchand, that 2011 team. I mean, Patrice Bergeron will never pay for a drink again, nor will Brad Marchand, nor will most of that team from 2011 that won the Stanley Cup. Tim Thomas is probably the only one that has a problem. For the things that he wrote online, Tim Thomas is been compared to the Unabomber by some people. So he's probably the only one from that 2011 team that people aren't really jumping up and down about. But I guess some people might like Tim Thomas, but he's not nearly as popular as the other ones that were on that team in 2011 that won the Stanley Cup. Hey, Moss, good to see you. Huge Bruins fan here. Nice to see a proper tribute. We need, Lindrum going. I agree. They need, I love how you're spelling centers, by the way. You must be from Canada. I love that. You're spelling centers, Centres. That's great. But yes, amazing combo. Bergeron Marchand was an amazing combo. And look, his first goal, they showed his highlight of his first goal, and the first guy that came pouring on, jumping on top of Marchand when he scored it was Patrice Bergeron. So those two guys were just linked for so many years in Boston. It was a really, really good job last night by the Bruins and frankly by ESPN to just be quiet, let it happen, let it all kind of play out. It was pretty cool. Let's make some bets for tonight. All right, let's talk about what's happening for the Celtics and the Sixers. So this number, I am pretty confident this number has continued to rise. I bet it last night, and I expected it to rise, and I probably should have waited a bit. But the Celtics at home tonight, it's now 229.5 for the Celtics and the Sixers. So I disagree with this number. I bet under 228.5. Everyone's betting over. You can get 228.5 now. Okay, so here is my theory about the Boston Celtics. And I have been watching preseason games for Boston. I know you do not have the guy that is able to shut down Joel Embiid tonight. Al Horford is now with the Warriors. So Boston really doesn't have anybody that gets going to contain Embiid. But I think they're going to be able to contain everybody else. Maxey and company, I think Boston's defense is going to be electric this year. There was a quote that happened last night on the starting five. I know it's like 3 days in a row I'm quoting this, but I'm obsessed with this show. And this quote now is being talked about all over the internet because Joe Mazzulla was asked if him and Jaylen Brown got into a fight, who would win? And Joe Mazzulla's answer was, well, Jaylen would probably win, but neither one of us would come out of it alive. So basically saying, yeah, Jaylen Brown probably beats me up, but we both die. We both die. Which I thought was the most Joe Mazzulla quote of all time. Like, this guy is mentally nuts, and I love him as much as I've loved any coach in the NBA or in Boston for that matter. Like, he's not Belichick because Belichick won 6, but Joe's won a championship in Boston. And when you win a championship in Boston, you are forever a legacy. You are forever looked up and praised. But the way he does it and the anger and the animosity he brings to life is awesome. So watching the way Boston has played in the preseason, I think this is how they're going to play. They've been a up-tempo, three-point bombing team. No one has shot more three-pointers in the last 3 years than the Boston Celtics. But that's with Jason Tatum. And now without Jason Tatum, I don't think Boston can play that way. And I know they're elevating Peyton Pritchard from the 6th man of the year into the starting rotation. Sam Hauser is no longer a role player off the bench. Sam Hauser is now starting for the Boston Celtics. It is Derek White, who is a tremendous weapon, who I think will be an all-star this year, and people will talk about how good Derek White is. Jaylen Brown's the alpha, but that's not his way. He's a two-way star. Jaylen Brown, his intensity, his toughness is what really shines on the defensive end of the floor. So he, I think, has to be the best defensive player for Boston. Derek White's a great on-ball defender, but he's a three-point shooting marvel. He's a guy who can bomb it. So I think everyone's assuming that Boston is going to go up tempo and shoot a ton of threes. I may be dead wrong, and Joe Mazzulla may play the same exact way. And if Boston shoots well, this game goes over. I don't know if I agree with Boston being favored in this game. I think you could take the points with Philadelphia and feel pretty good about it. That number right now is up to 4.5. There's money on the Celtics coming in. Pros are betting Boston, laying the 2.5, the 3.5. We're up to 4.5 on Boston now, and the total's up to 229.5. I would lean towards the dog and the over and the favorite and the under if I was going to bet this on both sides. Instead, I'm just going to take the under in this game. And again, you can get a better point at 229.5 than what I got, because I do think Boston's defense is going to be the difference in this game. And I don't think that we see 110 points scored by Philadelphia. So how many points will Boston score? I don't really know, to be honest. Without Jason Tatum, I don't think we can really make an accurate projection for what Boston's going to score. But do we think Boston's going to score 120 points? If the theory is that Philly doesn't score 110, and if Embiid goes off and goes for 40 tonight, then yeah, they're going to score over 110 points. But it has to be, if that happens, for my bet to cash, it would need to be Embiid and then no one else. Like he gets his, and then you shut down everybody else. There's no Paul George tonight for Philadelphia, so you have Maxey as the other big scoring option for Philadelphia. I think this Sixers team is not going to be very good. I don't know how good the Celtics are going to be. I don't trust Embiid to stay healthy all year. But from a game one perspective, I just think this is going to be a lower scoring game than people think. I don't see this being a really high scoring game unless Boston shoots like 100 threes, which maybe is going to be the way they're going to play. Okay. Maybe Boston is just going to be a 3-point shooting team all season long, and that's all they're going to do. Okay. And then I'm going to be wrong here, and I'll tip my cap and I'll move on to the next game. But I think the Celtics play defense tonight, and this game goes under. The Cavaliers and the Knicks, I'm going the other way. The Knicks as home dogs last year. It's Thibodeau. This is Mike Brown. I'll give it to you. Two different coaches. But last year, when the Knicks were home dogs, it was 5-1 to the over. The Cavaliers as road favorites last year, 25-13 to the over last year. Now, speaking of 3-point shooting, all indications are that the Knicks are going to be way more up-tempo under Mike Brown than they were under Thibodeau. We know what the Cavaliers do under Bickerstaff. We know what Donovan Mitchell and company, what they're all about. They want to get right up and they want to bomb shots. They want to bomb threes. The same way Boston shoots a ton of threes, the Cavaliers look to shoot a ton of threes. Over the last couple of years, the Cavaliers against the Eastern Conference at home, they have been an under team. On the road against the Eastern Conference, they've been a straight over team. So this game's in New York. This game's not in Cleveland. So to me, this is an overplay of over 226.5. That total right now is 227.5. So it's ticked up 1 point. So the market agrees with me here when it comes to this for the Knicks and the Cavaliers, but I'm going to jump in on the over here coming up on this. So I like this. Yeah, Joe, the under was a good bet till overtime last night. You're right. Then overtime kills it, unfortunately, coming up on this. So, yeah, that's my coach. How can you not love him? Cavs Knicks, though, over 226.5 coming up here for tonight. And finally, I like Dallas. Look, I think Cooper Flagg, after watching him play here in Las Vegas with Team USA, some guys are really good college players, and then they become elite NBA players because their game just translates better to the professional game. And I think that's going to be Cooper Flagg. Like, I think we're all going to be, after tonight, go, how in the world do the Mavericks replace Luka Doncic with Cooper Flagg? It is one of the most ridiculous sports controversies in recent memory. I still do not believe that the NBA did not have a hand in awarding Dallas the first pick in the draft after Luka Doncic signed with the Lakers. It was too perfect. Okay. It was just too perfect, but it doesn't matter now. He is a Maverick, and he's got Anthony Davis. Kyrie Irving is out with the knee, but they brought in D'Angelo Russell. Ryan Nembhard has played well. The kid from Gonzaga and Creighton, he had a good preseason. So let's see what Ryan Nembhard looks like tonight at the point guard position. So I think the Mavericks have some some options to replace Kyrie until he comes back. Kyrie will play this year. Okay. When, we don't really know, but he will come back. And I think Cooper Flagg's going to be outstanding. Now, I know it's Victor Wembanyama, and I know the Spurs are expected to take a big step forward. In fact, most people have Wembanyama in the top 3 from the MVP conversation going into the year, that he's going to just blossom this year. I just don't love the surrounding cast for Victor Wembanyama. I mean, 1-2 players in the NBA is not enough to go ahead and battle and go on the road and win games. This number is still 2.5. It hasn't moved. The total is 223.5. I just small home favorite. I like Cooper Flagg making his debut. I think he has a big year. I think Cooper Flagg's going to be tremendous this year in the NBA. Rookie of the year. Yeah. I mean, the odds aren't great for it. What are the odds are now? Let's see, for rookie of the year rookie of the year, it's minus 220, and then Ace Bailey is plus 900 to give you an idea. So it's all about Cooper Flagg coming in, and that number, is accurate. I think it will just balloon and get bigger and bigger, because I don't really think there's anybody else that's going to have as nearly as big of an impact on the NBA as Cooper Flagg is going to. And I think that plays out here tonight. He could be the best player on the floor tonight. That's with Victor, that's with Anthony Davis. Let's just see what Cooper Flagg looks like. But him in the NBA, I think it's going to be a whole lot of fun to see what he winds up looking like here for tonight. I don't really have much else tonight in the NBA. I've stayed away from hockey coming up here for tonight. There's a bunch of games that people want to jump in on. I'm just, the Panthers are on back-to-back playing at home against the Penguins tonight. They're big favorites, so people like that one. The Hurricanes and the Avalanche are playing tonight in the NHL. That's a huge game. Avs lost last night to the Mammoth. Utah all of a sudden is hot, by the way. What is going on with the Mammoth? Was that 5 straight wins or 4 straight wins for the Mammoth? But they beat the Avs at home last night, which was a huge win for them. Colorado's on a back-to-back tonight, and they will go and play. Oh, that game's tomorrow. Sorry, that game's not tonight. That's tomorrow, Thursday. I'm jumping ahead. Sorry, that's a Thursday game. So Avalanche, Hurricanes tomorrow. That's not tonight. So so tonight we've got. I was only 3 games on the schedule tonight. Sorry, that game I was reading was tomorrow for Pittsburgh, Florida. They're not on a back-to-back. So Wild and the Devils, Red Wings and the Sabres, and the Canadians and the Flames tonight. So it's only a 3-game slate for tonight. Thank you for the chat, for you guys who are going ahead and tell me about that. Thank you. Appreciate you guys coming up for that. Yes, I didn't call him Cooper Cup. That's true. I've been calling Cooper Flagg Cooper Cup for the last week, and I don't know why. It's just one of those things that's stuck in my head with that. Addison says play the Devils first period under. Any under with the Devils really has been the last 4 years. That's been good to go ahead and jump that, but I didn't call Cooper Flagg Cooper Cup. That's clearly a victory for me coming up here with all of that. So I like the over in the Celtics game. I like the under in the Celtics game, the over in the Knicks game, and Dallas minus 2.5 coming up here for tonight. This is a fun week because we get tonight NBA and the NHL. Tomorrow we have Thursday night football with the Vikings on the road. And then we've got Friday with the World Series with game 1 between Toronto and the Dodgers. There are some things going into this that we'll talk about tomorrow about the World Series. And if you are a Blue Jay fan, there are some things actually that trend-wise will help you, will look like you may have a shot at winning the World Series. I tend to disagree, but I hope we have a long series. I hope we have a really competitive World Series, and we're watching baseball on Friday night, and it's a good game. I can't wait to watch it. I don't really believe that that's going to happen, but I do on that. I am excited about seeing how that's going to all play out. News of the industry. We'll talk about hockey and the NHL with prediction markets coming up in bonus time. If you guys are watching on the replay on Sports Grid TV, thank you for being here. Thank you to Adam Bjorn and BetCris Arizona for sponsoring today's program. The Where in the World segment, where Adam Bjorn is turning into a really fun part of the show. A boat. He was on a boat today. I did not expect to talk to him from a cruise ship today. What time zone was he in? How did he even know when to show up? It's pretty impressive. But if you guys are watching the show on replay, or if you guys are listening on the audio podcast or watching live for that matter, don't move. Bonus time starts now. Okay. Jason 7. Wow. You better rack that bullpen. Only way that happens is if the Blue Jays destroy that bullpen. That would be the only way to see that happen. All right, let's talk about news of the industry. I have a new one of these that I have to load, but we'll say goodbye to this version of the news of the industry. I'll play the new one tomorrow because I just forgot to load it. It's hysterically funny. Sonic has done an incredible job. There's been a couple of new stingers that Sonic has created that I have to add that it's been a complete whirlwind of a week. My stepfather is back in the hospital. My stepfather had surgery again today. He had open heart surgery 2 weeks ago, and he had to go in for a procedure today on his heart. So it's been kind of a crazy week. And we've had a lot of, what was that? I just heard the craziest sound effect. Did you guys hear that too? Or is that just in my head? That was wild. I don't know where that came from. Wow. I just heard the most ridiculous sound effect in my head. I don't know. I don't know where that came from. Wow. That was neat. It was like a cartoon sound that popped into my head. I don't know. Matt, your daily juice play of the day just got picked by Mr. Mayo, rolling with the under in Boston. Okay. For those of you who don't know what he's talking about, is that so of all the daily juice plays, my boss at Betting Pros, Mike Mayo as we call him, he picks one of the plays from the cast of people making bets at Betting Pros. Now, oftentimes he takes the daily juice plays that he likes. So he picks one of and we've had a very good record with him picking it. So he picks the Celtics under at 229.5. Okay. He did pick the Thunder yesterday, laying 6.5, by the way. So it missed yesterday. Just FYI. I heard a dog bark. No, I have no dogs anymore, Brandon. This is a dogless house, unfortunately. I will look to fix that in the spring. I told my daughter that. She asked me, she's like, are you going to get a dog? And I said, yeah. I said, we'll get a puppy in the spring, probably. So, we'll get through the winter time, and then we'll get to get through football season, and then we'll get to like March, or get through March and then get into April and May, and maybe we'll address the dog situation. But, right now it's been nice not having dogs because how much I work, it would be really mean for dogs. Anyways, news of the industry. This has been an interesting morning online. Kalshi and Polymarket have partnered with the NHL in the first major prediction market deal involving one of the big four. The reason why I find this topic interesting for a variety of reasons, but this one is interesting to see how it all goes down, because Kalshi has been throwing money around to all sorts of people trying to gain legitimacy. And they are losing in court right now, like losing in court. And people have said that it is just a matter of time before a major court case gets ruled against Kalshi and the sports prediction marketplace becomes non-existent, becomes illegal. And while that is going on, Kalshi is throwing money at anyone and everyone who will take it. And the NHL became the first ones to do so. Now, DraftKings did finalize their purchase of Railbird, which is a CFTC licensed prediction market platform. They announced that yesterday, that they did wind up closing on that deal to acquire Railbird. We already know that FanDuel has acquired a company as well to be involved in this. So some might call it just being ready. Some might say due diligence, or others might be saying that they're really going and trying to have a lot of things going on. A lot of interesting things happening in the prediction marketplace. So let's make sure we're ready for it if it does become a big part of the sports betting, cycle. But there is so much lying. Let's use the right word. Lying going on right now. Like, there is so much lying on this. And so, and guys, do me a favor. Look, I love you. Don't tell me what to do. Okay. I've addressed this numerous times. Don't tell me what to do with the show. Okay. Like, you're gonna piss me off fast. Okay. You want to get me fired up? Get me fired up by saying stuff like that. Okay. It's bonus time. Okay. No. Don't tell me, don't do that. Okay. Don't do that. We all miss Dave. I miss Dave. We're not replacing Dave with anybody. Okay. With nobody. Okay. It's not happening. Okay. If you don't like the show, if you don't like the show the way the show is, sorry. That's my answer to you. Sorry. So you want to make me get upset? Get me upset by saying that. Okay. Because I'm not in this spot because I want to be in this spot. I'm not doing the show by myself because I want to do the show by myself. Okay. That's not what any of this is. I'm not replacing Dave. Okay. I'm not replacing Dave. That's the last time I'm going to say that. Okay. I am not replacing Dave. In a year, let's revisit. In 26, next football, let's revisit. If it makes sense, if somebody comes along that makes sense, that wants to do it, yes, we'll have the conversation. But there's nobody on the planet. There's nobody on the planet that can sit in that chair as of today. Okay? So I want to make that perfectly clear. This has been a topic that has been beaten to death in my personal life about what to do with the show. And everyone in my life is so sick of me talking about what to do with the show. Like, literally everybody. I've been all of my friends, my girlfriend, everybody is just like, we have to stop talking about the show, about what to do with the show. Because for 4 months, I've been talking about what to do with the show and what to do with co-hosts and what to do. And I have come to this finalized point. So when I see someone say, oh, it's needed, fuck you, it's needed. Okay? Because then you're telling me that I have to do something that I know I should have not have to do. Okay? So, like, you want me mad? It's better when Matt gets pissed off. You want me pissed off? Let's go. Okay? Get into this topic. Now I'm pissed off. Okay? The thing about grief, the thing about what happens in the wake of grief is that everyone gets to go on with their life. And it's not a bad thing that everyone gets to go on with their life, because it means we're all trying to get back to some level of normalcy, right? But the people who are left in the wake of what has happened, it doesn't get easier. It doesn't get better. It gets harder in a lot of ways, because once the emotion wears off, once the shock of everything wears off, the silence in the hole left by someone dying is extremely noticeable in every single walk of your life. And so the funeral's gone. The tributes have stopped. The conversations aren't there. And then we're going to come back and say things like that. It's needed. None of this is needed. None of this was supposed to happen. None of this should have happened. So you're not saying anything to be cute or funny. You're not talking about something quietly. I can see what you say in the chat. If you're part of this brigade and this person who I just put on the screen, you have sent me, I don't know, 50 fucking DMs. Okay? So you're following the story. You know what has happened. You know what's gone on. You've seen what has happened. I've told you what we've been dealing with. I don't need recommendations for what we're supposed to do with this show right now. I just don't. Okay. So I understand all of this. I understand the complications of the name of this show. All of it. It is not simple. It is not clean. It is complicated. It is difficult. It is emotional on so many levels. And I'm just trying to do my best. I'm just trying to do what I think Dave would want me to do, which is keep going. Keep doing the show. That's what he used to say to me every single time we hit a crossroads and a problem and an issue that we didn't know how to fix. Dave's answer was, we just have to keep doing the show. And so I have tried to take that under every consideration to just keep doing the show. And I've been advised by so many people who have told me what I should do, how I should handle this, what I should do. Pack it up, Matt. You're too emotional. Isn't it time? Take time off. Get away from this. This isn't healthy. You should just go and let the show sit for a couple of months. No. Rebrand the show. No. Okay. No. So no. I don't need that. Doesn't help anything to do that. Anyways, sorry. Don't mean to flip out on you. How do I feel about Justin Jefferson going for 100+ game tomorrow night? Look, that game tomorrow night, we'll get into it tomorrow. We'll break it down tomorrow. I have no idea what to do with that game because a part of me says bet the Chargers heavy because the Vikings with Carson Wentz stink. So how bad is JJ McCarthy? Like, how bad is he? Like, seriously, like you let Sam Darnold walk because it was JJ McCarthy's team, but JJ McCarthy has a 6-week injury that everybody says he should be back from. And so you're playing Carson Wentz and you lost to the Eagles after a bye because Carson Wentz threw a horrible pick 6 to a linebacker that cost you the game because you lost the game by 6. And so JJ's not ready on a short week. You're going to put Carson Wentz out there against a Chargers team that got embarrassed at home against the Colts. Cool. That anything to do with the Vikings tomorrow night is hard. Like anything to do with the Vikings is a difficult bet for me to make tomorrow. I don't know what to do with that. I really don't. that game, I say bet the Chargers, lay less than 3. If it is, it's 3.5 right now. But if 3, 2.5. But otherwise, I don't know what to do with that. Like I don't know what to do with that. Anyways, I wanted to put a finishing touch on this. I got distracted on this. I want to go back to this before we wrap. This is one of those stories where I can't wait to watch and see how it all plays out, because I think there are people who are in the sports gambling space who are angling aggressively. And I mean like aggressively angling to get paid by Kalshi or Polymarket or a sports prediction marketplace. They are really interested in seeing what they can make personally. And so they're willing to overlook just all of the bullshit that's being put out there by Kalshi consistently. And Kalshi is paying so many people. I told you, they tried to pay me. And I'm a whore, okay? Like I will take money from pretty much anybody unless it flies directly in the face of what I believe is right and wrong. Like I'll promote pretty much anything. I'll promote liquor. I'll promote nicotine. I'll promote, anything really. If it's legal, I'll promote it. Let adults do adult things. I will tell you about it and you guys can make the decision as to whether or not you want to do it. But that legal part is the issue. I don't believe that prediction marketplaces are legal in the sports gambling space. If you want to talk about like oil futures, you want to talk about things that have nothing to do with sports, you want to bet on who's winning the Oscars or whatever it might be, that's fine. But in the sports gambling marketplace, in the sports betting world, I do not believe that it's legal for a company to operate in Utah or Alabama or any state that has chosen not to legalize sports gambling. And if they are operating in a legalized sports gambling state, that state should be able to collect state taxes for operating in that state. Okay. That's just the way the internet has worked. I live in Nevada. I pay Nevada taxes when I buy something from Europe. Like it's what happens. You pay sales tax, like you pay when you in the state that you live in. So like I am of the opinion that the CFTC should not be superseding state laws. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know, but I'm just telling you what I have said no to because I don't want to get paid. but there are so many people. I saw this today of like, you better get on board the sports prediction marketplace train or get run over. No, I'm not getting on the sports prediction market train at the moment, not until we have a definitive court case. And frankly, I'm not interested in what Kalshi is trying to push, because Kalshi believes that they are a movement. That's what their CEO called it. Kalshi is a movement. No, it is not. You're an app. You take bets. Take bets. You're not a movement. DraftKings isn't a movement. FanDuel is not a movement. Okay. It's ridiculous to claim that somehow the bro culture is that you are now part of this, resurgence. You're part of this group of young men that want to upend the system. I mean, they compare themselves to Uber. Like, you guys realize that, right? Like, Kalshi believes that they are Uber, that they are going to disrupt, that they're going to disrupt the entire ecosystem. Like Uber did, right? With cabs, that this is what, no, this is, you're not providing a service for anybody. You're a gambling app. Okay. Like, you even call yourself gambling. Before you didn't. Before you said it was a trade. Now it's a bet, right? Oh, we just trade anything on Kalshi. They're back to saying that again, by the way, which is interesting. But we put the ads up. Sports betting, right? Bet in California, bet in Texas. You advertised into those states. No, they're not disruptors and they're not revolutionaries. Yes, Cole, I completely and totally agree with that. I completely agree with all of that. Have I ever promoted weed on weed? Have I ever promoted weed on weed? Yes. I have. Yes, that is true. Yes, I have done that. Yes, that is true. I have done that. You mispronounced sales theft wrong. Yeah, basically what it is. No, DeMarco, no. Do I think they'll punish users? No, and I don't want them to punish users. I've always been. I don't like that at all. I don't like when we victimize, when we arrest people for doing things. Like, it's the same thing when we talk about arresting people for using illegal drugs, right? Possession is stupid. It's dumb. Like, you want to go after the manufacturer, you want to go after the suppliers, you want to go after the dealers. Okay, fine. But going after the users, I've never been okay with that. I think that's not the right way of policing society, to go ahead and arrest those people who are users. So no, I hope that Kalshi people never get arrested. I don't think individual users should be arrested. I think Kalshi should be fined. I don't know if arrested is the right word, but I think they should be dealt with legally for what they are doing in states in which they should not be doing it. And they know they shouldn't be in Massachusetts. They know they shouldn't be in Nevada, but they don't. Right now, the court cases haven't gone completely against them. I do think they're going to, and I do think there is a concerted effort to pay anyone and anyone who's going to take their money to become a Kalshi spokesperson, to get them to go and sing their lies to everybody. And then they're signing to the NHL and anybody else that will take their money. I mean, heck, Underdog is going to use Kalshi to legally lay off their liability. I didn't bring it up because it's such a Dave topic that, like, I'm ignorant to talk about it. Dave would be all over that topic, that Underdog is using Kalshi to lay off its liability. So when they have a big red number on one side of a bet, they're going to take their money and they're going to bet it on the other side legally at Kalshi, which is completely manipulating the market, which is so wrong on so many levels. Been done forever, right? I mean, look at what happened with all the situation involving Shohei Ohtani and Ohtani's bookie coming to Vegas. What was he doing? He was laying off Ohtani's action at Vegas books. So, like, the practice is not new, but it is new that it's being done legally. That's actually genius. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's genius. It's being done legally. It's being done legally to do that. Straight market manipulation to do that. It's not a real bet. You're laying it off. So, like, the market moves, market's going to react to that. And it's not a real market move. It's a manipulation. but it's being allowed. So there's just so much convoluted shit going on in this story involving Kalshi. It is so deeper than just Donald Trump Jr. being on the board of both Polymarket and Kalshi. It's so deeper than Kalshi just taking bets in states in which they aren't supposed to. It's so much deeper than the FanDuel DraftKings of the world getting involved and potentially gearing up to be ready for it in case it does get legalized. It does so much more than just put everyone's license at risk because they spent millions to go and become licensed and have your KYC situations and having all your employees be investigated and background checked and everything else to be able to operate in those states. Like it is, you know, I think it was, I forget who said, was it Brubaker who came on the show and said, this is either going to be the most transformational story in the history of sports gambling in 6 months, or it's going to be the biggest nothing burger ever if the courts throw it out. You know, one of the two. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Don't beat yourself up, man. It's okay. It was just something that had to be said. Okay. You're not the only one. Okay. I'll say that to you. You're not the only one who brought up that topic. You're not the only one saying that. You're just the only one who wrote it and got caught in the crossfire. But don't think like you're alone. What you're saying is not unique. If others haven't said it, they're thinking it. And so that's why I said what I said, because it's been written to me. It's been DM'd to me. It's been said to me. You're not unique. So don't beat yourself up on it. I apologize for ranting on you personally. It was more of a macro conversation than a personal attack on you. It caught me in the comment section, and it's something I have been thinking long and hard about for a long time. All right. We are back tomorrow, Thursday. We will get into Vikings Chargers tomorrow. Friday, we'll come back with whatever we're going to call the newbie segment. We haven't figured it out yet, but Sonic has made a very fun intro for newbie. So we've got him coming back on the program on Friday. And then on Friday, Jeff Pearlman is going to be joining us, the author of the new book on Tupac Shakur. I know you might be like, what the fuck? Yes. Okay. Jeff is a sports writer who has written an unbelievable biography on the life of Tupac Shakur. It has become a huge story. I've been talking with Jeff for the last couple of days about coming back on the program. So if you are a Tupac fan, you're not going to want to miss Friday's program. We're going to talk at the top of the show with Jeff Pearlman a bit about the book, about the process. He's received death threats from people who do not like what he has written about Tupac. It's going to be awesome on Friday. I cannot wait to talk to Jeff Pearlman about his new book about Tupac. I'll give you some more information about it coming up tomorrow. But Friday, 1 p.m., top of the show, Jeff Pearlman joins us, and then newbie comes on later in the show as well. So good 2 shows, Thursday, Friday, rest of the week. Hope to see you back tomorrow for a 1 p.m. Thursday start for the Bostonian versus the book.